The cafe smelled like roasted coffee beans and warm pastries, a soft jazz playlist humming in the background. I tucked a strand of my long wavy brunette hair behind my ear and adjusted the cream-colored oversized sweater at my waist, nervously glancing at Dylan. His deep green eyes were focused on the cup he was stirring, the sunlight from the fairy-lit windows catching the subtle wave of his dark brown hair. Sometimes the smallest gestures spark the biggest feelings. He looked up and caught my gaze, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "You bring the best coffee," he said casually, but his voice carried something more, a warmth I hadn't expected. My fingers brushed his as I handed him the cup, and a jolt ran through me. A simple touch can set your heart racing without warning. I laughed lightly, trying to hide the way my cheeks warmed. "It's just coffee," I replied, though my voice sounded breathless even to me. He leaned back slightly in his chair, sleeves of his dark gray Henley rolled up, and I caught the casual flex of his arm. There was something effortlessly magnetic about him, like the air around him pulled me in without asking permission. Attraction doesn't ask, it just takes over. The cafe had that vintage vibe I loved, the mismatched tables, twinkling fairy lights outside, and the faint hum of conversations blending with jazz. I found myself sliding into the chair across from him, every instinct telling me to act casual, but my heart betraying me with every glance. "So, you really love working here?" Dylan asked, his deep green eyes studying me as if he wanted to see past my careful composure. When curiosity meets desire, every question feels loaded. Yeah, I like it," I admitted. "The people, the vibe, it's nice." I reached for my coffee, brushing his hand again accidentally. This time, neither of us pulled away immediately. His gaze softened, almost intimate, and he chuckled. "Careful, you're going to make me like you even more." Sometimes words hint at truths your heart already knows. I felt my lips part slightly, unsure whether to laugh or respond, but the energy between us was electric. He leaned in, and I noticed the subtle scent of his cologne mixed with coffee, warm and irresistible. My hand twitched near his, and I realized I wasn't going to resist the pull. We talked about work, about small life things, but everything felt layered with something unspoken. Every laugh, every casual brush, carried weight I couldn't ignore. I wanted to say something, but the words caught in my throat, leaving me mesmerized by the way he watched me. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words ever could. Eventually, our conversation lulled into quiet moments where the music and candlelit windows filled the space. I felt Dylan's gaze on me, intense and unwavering, as if he could see through all the walls I'd built. I realized then, I'd been resisting feelings I didn't know I could no longer deny. Realizing you want someone can be both terrifying and thrilling. As the afternoon faded, he smiled softly. "I've been meaning to tell you something," he murmured, leaning back in his chair but keeping his eyes locked on mine. My heartbeat quickened, anticipation blooming like wildfire in my chest. "The confession you've been waiting for often comes when you least expect it." I watched him, completely caught in the moment, feeling that delicate balance of longing and restraint. There was a tension I couldn't ignore, the subtle promise of something more, something forbidden yet utterly irresistible. Sometimes the most powerful connections are the ones you're not supposed to have. The sun dipped lower, golden light spilling across the wooden floor. My fingers traced the rim of my coffee cup, and I realized the quiet truth. I couldn't stop thinking about him. Dylan, sitting just across from me, had claimed a space in my heart I hadn't realized was waiting. By the time desire finds you, there's no turning back. We lingered in that moment, the hum of the cafe fading behind the weight of unspoken words. His hand brushed mine again, just slightly, but enough to make the world shrink to the space between us. I knew that whatever happened next, nothing would ever be the same. Some days change everything, and some people change your heart forever. The cafe had begun to empty, the soft hum of jazz and clinking cups the only soundtrack to our lingering presence. Dylan leaned back in his chair, dark gray Henley sleeves rolled up, fingers lightly tapping his cup, eyes locked on me with a teasing intensity. I hugged my cream-colored oversized sweater a little tighter, feeling the warmth of my blush and the soft flutter in my chest. The closer you get, the harder it is to pretend nothing's happening. He finally spoke, voice low, deliberate. I've been thinking about you more than I probably should. My breath caught. The casual smile he'd worn all afternoon was gone, replaced with a vulnerability that made my heart hammer. I've felt the same, I admitted softly, fingers brushing the edge of my cup. Every word carried weight, every confession threatening to shatter the carefully curated barrier between us. When someone confesses, it's more than words, it's a spark igniting a fire. Dylan leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. The sunlight through the fairy-lit windows played across his face, highlighting the sharp line of his jaw and the deep green of his eyes. I noticed the faint stubble, the casual tousle of his hair, every detail pulling me in further. Desire doesn't announce itself. It quietly sneaks into every glance, every touch. I laughed nervously, brushing my hair behind my ear. So, this is us now? I asked, heart racing, unsure if I wanted the answer. Maybe it already has been, he said, a slow grin tugging at his lips. His hand brushed mine again, and this time neither of us pulled away. The contact was electric, sending a thrill up my spine. Sometimes one touch says more than 1,000 words ever could. The cafe lights dimmed slightly as evening approached, and the cozy space felt like a world of its own. Dylan leaned closer, and I caught the faint scent of his cologne mixed with coffee and something uniquely him, warm, inviting, irresistible. I don't usually do this, he murmured, voice husky, but I can't stop thinking about you. The most compelling confessions are the ones whispered in quiet moments. I felt my pulse quicken as I shifted closer, sweater brushing against his arm. I don't usually feel this way either, I admitted, but I can't ignore it anymore. His grin softened into something more serious, almost reverent. Then let's not fight it, he said, hand brushing my cheek lightly, thumb tracing the curve. Sometimes surrendering is the only way to truly feel alive. The moment stretched, suspended in the warmth of the cafe and the quiet intimacy surrounding us. Dylan's hand held mine, fingers entwined, and I felt the subtle pull of attraction, the undeniable connection that had been growing since that first accidental brush of hands. Connections like these aren't found. They're felt, deep and undeniable. As we stood to leave, the final moment approached, that delicate pause where desire hangs in the air. Our eyes met, breath mingling, both waiting, both tempted to close the gap. I felt my heart in my throat. The near kiss, where anticipation teeters on the edge of reality. We leaned in slightly, and then, just as the moment threatened to tip into something more, we pulled back, laughing softly at our own boldness. Dylan's hand lingered on mine, a promise of what was to come. Sometimes holding back is as powerful as giving in. The night air greeted us as we stepped outside, fairy lights glowing faintly behind the cafe windows. So, coffee tomorrow? He asked, a playful spark in his eyes. I think I'd like that, I said, smiling, feeling the warmth of his hand still pressed lightly against mine. Some beginnings are quiet, simple, but they change everything. We walked down the street together, the tension melting into easy laughter and comfortable closeness. I realized then that resisting had been impossible from the start. Dylan had found his way into my heart, and I wasn't stopping him. The sweetest confessions are the ones that mark the start of something unforgettable. By the time we said goodbye, the pull between us was undeniable, a quiet understanding that this was only the beginning. One day, one coffee, one confession had been enough to rewrite everything. When the heart finally finds its match, nothing else matters.